Hello, TV land. It is a flexibility class with Laura Ward in a Zoom room with other human beings all over the world. If you ever want to join, feel free to reach out to me and we can make that happen. So let's start standing up. I also want to let you know in TV land that everybody in this room right now that's in my flexibility class just did role play. So we would call that tissue prep. It means that the tissue in our body has already activated. There's some fluidity, there's some hydration, there's some access to movement already there. So this is something to think about before you go for any kind of stretch ever. You want to make sure there's some fluidity in that system. Dancers, and I'm a dancer, classically trained. I mean, I can do the split without any kind of warm up. It's not a big deal for me. Like my body has learned how to do that, right? But that's not necessarily the healthiest training. And it's not the kind of training that's going to be long lasting for people. So somatically, we can learn something like Pavlov's dog. Oh, I'm going to dance. I can lift my leg up to here, stretch around. I'm going to be fine. But that's maybe not the healthiest way to think about it. So let's start standing up. And we're going to start with breath. Our last role play was really about breath support and core support. So inhale, reach out and up, get very big, very long, reach to the gods and goddesses for inspiration, reach out and up, and then kind of let your torso move around. I'm also letting my hands move around. So I'm in this long stretch, and then I'm going to soften down and I'm just going to shake it out for a second. Shake, 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 letting any kind of tension, any kind of holding that might not have released or that might be holding in there kind of bounce around. So there's some fluid prep. This is also, this kind of shaking and bouncing, really great for stimulating your lymphatic system, which is a detoxifier of your body. Let's take the arms back up. And again, reach for the heavens. Feel your feet on the floor. Thinking of, so as I'm reaching up, I'm like kind of lengthening out one side, then lengthening out the other. I'm adding just a little bit of twisting. So I'm finding some fluidity in my system from the ground to the sky. And then as soon as I get tired, I'm going to relax, shake it out, bounce around. I think I'm going to get my visual aid because this is helpful. And I was showing this the other day in class. I don't know if I have as much. It's down to 2 onions in the visual aid. There were like 5 or 6 before when I was showing them. But imagine, this is the visual aid. Of course, I'm wearing red. So this, now, see if I move my hand around. This is like my image for the inside of your body. There's organs, fascia. There's this capacity for movement in there, right? It's connected. The fascia is interlacing, interwoven through all your stuff and around all your stuff. So imagine like this onion could be a muscle fiber, right? On the large scale. So I've got a muscle fiber in there. If you think about what's happening with an onion, all those layers, everything holding that onion, more fascia, right? So while we're working our body, the more sort of 3-dimensionally we work, the more we're going to hydrate and add the capacity for movement. So when people think that they're tight and their muscles are tight, it's really your fascia that's tight. We are going to open wide and just shift your weight from side to side. So as you're shifting your weight from side to side, we're going to go into forward fold in a minute, but feel your foot on the floor. Feel the ripple through your joints, through your pelvis, through your ribs, through your head, and see if there's a place where you're stopping it. Like we've learned how to stand still really well. So see if you can let it go, like have an Elvis Presley moment and let your head free up, let your jaw, let your neck free up. Relax your neck and tongue. Good. Now we're just going to take that forward, bending one knee, bending the other. You could use a block on the floor. You could do this on a chair or even here, like depending on how tight you are. If you want support, get something underneath you because we're not going for a huge stretch right now. We're just going for movement, rippling through the system. So getting our onion bag of fascia to move in a really 3-dimensional way as we hydrate and ripple through our bodies. And then come in and roll it up. And we're going to work with our feet. So I'm going to take off my socks so I can show you. So I think anytime there was a request for some knee stuff and some lower back stuff. So we're going down to the bottom to our feet to start to wake them up so that we feel what's supporting us on the ground. And actually, let's just start with bouncing on that. And as you're bouncing, you can probably feel the tissue in your legs kind of pumping and pulsing. So thinking of like getting this sort of pulse through there, little ground. And then we're going to do like cat paws with our feet, shifting from side to side. And I'm also letting my spine free up. So it's like I'm grabbing with the soles of my feet. You might need to just think about one thing at a time. So you might go slow, one foot and then the other. But if you have, depending on how much dance and how much movement you've had, you could get really three-dimensional with this. Feet into knees, into hips, freeing up that whole system. And then if you look, yeah, what's happening above it on the top, like feet into knees, into hips. We're hydrating and lubricating those joints. We're thinking of all those little bones in our feet getting a chance to do this. So there's this natural movement through the feet. This is ultimately for our knees, for our hips, for the fluidity of our joints. I'm also letting my head free up on top, right? So I'm not just holding it up. Our head has a natural reflex to stay erect. But if we let it move, we're going to have more fluidity in our system and more capacity for movement. All right, now we're going to take it down again. We're going to turn the feet in a little bit. Actually, before we take it down, let's just turn the feet in. You're going to take your knees towards each other and then straighten. Knees towards each other and straighten. This is also for your lower back. We're feeling that inner spiral. When we get onto the floor, we're going to do more with this. But you could take your hands from the back and like give it a little bit more internal rotation, inner spiral. And then let's do two more things while we're down here. One is circling around. So I'm going to think of my knees making a circle. It's my feet underneath that are taking all of that movement. So the knee is just a hinge joint. The knee is just doing a hinge. The feet and the hips are taking all of the circle. And then change direction. If this hurts at all, make it smaller and more precise. It could be very small and you can still get a lot of movement in your feet. Or you can also go like big. Work with what feels good to you. And then let's take it down to the ground. So we're going to go all the way down. I said we were going to do two things. We didn't. We just did one, but that's okay. Adjustment. It's all about adjustment. We're going to take it down onto our backs. Feet are open wide. So if I show you this way, my feet are wider than my shoulders, and I'm just going to internally rotate one leg at a time, spiraling in. And I can take as long as I need to take doing this. As we're doing this, I would like to offer that when we're thinking about flexibility, flexibility is about adjustment and adaptation, right? I can be flexible in a situation. I can adjust to the situation. I can adapt. So it's the same with our body. Like we're able to adapt to things. It's not like, oh, I can get the biggest stretch. That's part of it, maybe. But it's also maybe not the most important part. The most important part for normal humans, maybe, not if you're a performer. If you're a performer, you need to get your leg up there, or maybe something else. But for normal humans, like we need to be able to adjust to what's happening in life so that we can have some freedom in our bodies and capacity to deal with what's going on. So thinking of flexibility as that, I'm going to hook my heel over and I feel a big stretch down the front of that quad. I'm also letting this bottom hip that's on the floor kind of mash out so that I'm getting two things. Well, lots of things, but two things. This internal rotation, lengthening down the front of the quad, and then some release in the hip that I'm on top of, just by the weight of my body dropping down. Whenever you're ready, switch it to the other side. I was just here ruminating on the idea of the flexibility in our bodies. Like, how much do we need? How much flexibility is healthy for us? If we're hypermobile, sometimes we actually need to rein it in. Okay, so this is going to be for our lower back and our hips. Square off. And you're just going to let your knees fall from side to side, allowing that to massage through your butt, massaging through your glutes. This is to relax and soften. Make it as easy as possible. So sloshing and surging on the inside, taking as much tension out of your body and just letting it move from side to side, the most simple possible way. Feet can be very relaxed, massaging through your lower back, your butt, and your hips. Very easy and released, no extra tension. And then come in, and we're going to hook one heel over the other knee, and we're going to let it roll down and come up and drop. So again, we're just softening and releasing. These exercises for me, along with the sort of fluid movement of role play, are the happy lower back exercises. But everybody's different, and what people need, you know, from person to person are different, or even from day to day. Let's bring it in and take it up, drawing it in towards you. If you want to straighten the bottom leg, go for it. Really listening into your body. You could also do this with a strap on your foot. So if you had like a yoga strap, a towel, a long sock, a t-shirt, you could also grab on. Let it go, shake it out, rotate in and out, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Let all that tissue soften back up. And then drop down, cross your ankle over your other knee, and then fall from side to side, allowing it to massage out. Make this as easy and as effortless as possible. Yeah, there's a great book for musicians called Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner. He also wrote a book recently that's something about like using the same concept in your life. And in the book about music, he talks about when you're playing music, imagine in your mind's eye that every note that you're playing is the most beautiful thing in the world so that you can relax into it. Like you're not judging every note that comes out and going, because this sometimes happens to me when I'm playing violin, that I'm like, oh, it sounds so awful. And then I'm in a really uncomfortable place to be playing violin. But if I go, oh, this is great, then it's kind of like a different place. Let's pick that up and stretch it. So part of the thing is to notice when the tension comes up and either stop and reset or just try and relax it and let go of it. And so I feel like that, and then also non-dual meditation, the idea of not grasping on things, not reaching and forcing, and are great ways to think of the same thing happening in your body. So if you feel like I've got to do this thing, I'm forcing it and pushing it, maybe back off if you want to open up and have more flexibility. Now, there is a space for really pushing it too. Like that's great too, but not all the time. Let's warm up our hamstrings a little bit more just by pushing up, pressing up, and coming down. I like to not roll up and roll down so much. I really like to just unfold in my hips and then fold. Sometimes the rolling up and rolling down feels good, but mostly I just want to warm up my back and my hamstrings right now. And for my own body, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time with that. I don't know why. So if you like that and you feel like, oh, I really want to roll up and roll down, go for it. Do that. I know why I don't like it. And I'll tell you. So if you roll up and then you like increase your arch and then you roll down and then you bring the arch back, then it feels okay to roll up and down. But if we're just tucking and rolling up and then coming back down without adding that extra arch, I feel like in my body, it doesn't feel right. But this way, I'm just keeping my body sort of as a unit and pushing with my legs So really what I'm doing is warming up my glutes and my hamstrings and my back. I think that's what it is. Like I can warm up my back this way as opposed to working on like the intervertebral flexibility, which is also important. So maybe that's what you want to do. Listen into your body. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm doing both. Okay, but that was just prep. Let's shake it out again. So the muscles have engaged. Now they're releasing the fascia. Everything's getting squishy. And we are opening up into a happy baby, wiggling around. You can grab your knees. You can grab your feet. You can straighten your legs. You can roll it around. Let it be an exploratory position where you're just checking things out, feeling into it. What if I do it like this? What if I do it like that? Or, oh, this just feels so good like this. I just want to stay right here. That's also a possibility. Really working in your own body in a way that is yummy. And then when you're ready, you can let it go. And we're going to roll from side to side. So rolling onto one side and then opening up, and we're just massaging across the back of our body as we're rolling from side to side. So this, actually for me, when I'm doing this roll, this is part of that release for my upper back, neck, and shoulders. So part of it is working on the flexibility of my neck so that my head can stay connected to the floor as I roll from side to side. So if I'm tight in my neck, my head's going to want to pop up. And actually moving my head and having more freedom in my neck has been one of my main sort of interests in the past 2 years, so that I have the capacity to really look around. Let's make this a little bit more by opening through the middle, getting that inner thigh stretch, and then rolling to the other side. You can fold it back in. You can think of it radiating outward, expansive, and then folding in and closing. So I'm massaging across my back. I'm melting into the floor, and then I'm getting this beautiful, expansive opening through the center. And wherever it is, it could be this, maybe that's the beautiful, expansive. Whatever it is in your body, feel into it. Feel into it, radiating outward and then closing in. Okay, so we're going to do another, we're going to work with the spine also on this. And it's just really basic. I'm sure you've all done it with it, just the knees dropping from one side to the other. But let's take it as slow as you need to go so you can feel yourself really massaging across the tissue in the back of your butt and hips and lower back. So the slower we go, the more the sort of fascia can take in what's happening. Fascia, when it's healthy, when it makes change in healthy fascia, that change is happening slowly. We're not forcing it. Like if real big change happens in fascia quick, it's a rip or a tear, right? So we don't want that. But we can change it by hydrating it, by moving slowly, getting the stuff in there, and also changing our holding patterns, the way that we're holding ourselves. So I'm showing this because this exercise is both a stretch and work. I'm going to show it from this direction. And this is one of the things that actually keeps my lower back easier. If I do it with straight legs, which is much more sort of engaged, muscular, like and active. But this, especially if I am kind of arching my back as I do this, is a big release for my back. It might not be for your back. So work with what feels good. And if I'm feeling good, then I'm going to turn my head away from my legs. If I am not feeling good, I'm going to keep it tighter and I'm going to turn my head in the same direction. So bend the knees more, make it easier. Or just open through center. So you're just massaging. It can always come back to that. All right, so there we have done some spiraling. I'm going to push the floor away and come up and come onto my butt in a Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose, but a very big open one. So I want to work a little bit more with spine here. So it's an open position. My hands are behind me. I'm going to push, and this is also going to open up the front of my deltoids. Push with my hands. I can let my head drop back or not, whatever feels good. So I want to say that in terms of like the movement, we were doing all of this rolly side to side movement. Now we're shifting into this more sagittal pattern of arching and curling. We did the rolly side side, we did the twisting side side. Now we're moving into sagittal. So each time we start shifting dimensionality, like going into the sagittal, that's also going to affect our tissue, like in a different way. Wow, which is what I mean when I talk about three-dimensional movement. I mean, all movement by nature is three-dimensional. Like we are not flat people, but there are ways to be more three-dimensional. So in this, if this feels okay, yeah, I have like a tiny little injury in this left rotator. So for me, I'm actually going to play with that and see if I can get some of the stuff around it to open up more. So I'm going to put my hands like this, and I'm going to bend my elbows and add some like shifting as I'm opening my chest and lungs, checking out the space around me. I'm really trying to bring this through. So what I'm thinking is that part of the reason I have this injury is because I'm a little tight in the front of this pec. So I'm trying to open up through that. Yeah, the pec and my deltoid are a little bit tight, so they're not, so that there's an overstretch happening right in the joint. Let that go. Fold forward, soften and release. Breathe into it. Once you get into your forward fold, free up the spine with some side-side movement. Relax your neck and jaw, relax your tongue, relax your throat. Droopy voice, soft tongue, easy spine. And then come up and stretch your legs out in front of you and give them a bang out. And then rotate in and out. So freedom in the hips, freedom in the back of the legs. And Terry, I'm thinking that just this type of stuff for you, like when you get done, bang out your legs, rotate in and out so that you're getting like movement in all that tissue, which isn't I'm standing on my legs movement, but it's giving it a chance to free up, and especially like calves. So we're going to go in there with just a little hands-on. I'm going to show you from here. I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to, well, I'm starting on the top. So I'm kind of pulling my skin and my superficial fascia down the front and up the front of my tibialis anterior, which is this bone in the front. Tibia and fibula. Tibia, bone in the front. Fibula, the other one that's kind of here. So I'm moving that, and then I'm going to start to move my hand back and get the belly of my calf to release a little bit away from those bones. So I want to have some movement in there. Now, if I flex my foot, then I engage those, they don't move as much. So relax it, get the back of the calf to jiggle. Then you can release. Let's do this. So the one that we've just jiggled, we want to reach out and just flex through the foot. Tissue through the whole back of the leg, through the sole of your foot, getting that train of fascia opening up. And then thinking of like the strength of the relationship of the bones down into your heel, just feeling what that is. And then from there, I'm going to show you this way, you're going to pronate and supinate your foot. Spread out your toes if you can, then relax it, shake it out, let it go. And I better start on the other leg before I forget what we did. So we're going to come to the up and down next to the tibia. I actually had a ballet teacher who was one of my private teachers, Sarah Neese. She was a pretty amazing teacher. And she was like, she'd be like, Laura, you got to get your fingers in there away so you can get this muscle. This is the tibialis anterior, this muscle here that's connecting to your tibia. She's like, you need to have some space so that muscle's not gummed up against the bone. And I mean, I would come away from some of my privates with her with like the devil's grip on my leg. Like there's a bunch of bruises because she was clearing up, you know, unadhesing the tissue. It's not to say that we're all supposed to be just loosely shaking around inside, but sometimes things get really like locked onto each other. And there's not so much capacity for shift, aliveness, flexibility when we're all jammed up like that. It can happen in our organs, it can happen in our tissues. It certainly is happening inside a lot of people's bodies that are spending all their time on like stability. That's what, so get into the calf, bang it around, see if you can get the calf to free up. You could also come up the back, like up the back of the leg with your fist. And then stretch out that leg, flex your foot, feel the integrity of the bones going down into the calcaneus, into your heel. And then you're going to move it in and out and try and spread your toes. And shake it out, let it go. So that's something to think about, like with these types of, I know it's very fitnessy to say like, we need to do 3 reps of 10 sets and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that thinking works, but sometimes it's like, no, I really just need to bring my awareness into this area. I need to have this thing come online. I need to, you know, it's more of a head shift. Not to say that any of that's wrong. I still do all the fitness things too. I'm a maximalist, I do it all. But we really want to have more capacity for thinking in different terms with our bodies, like not that we're machines, because we are not machines. There is nothing machine about us. We're organic. Yeah, organic, biomorphic. Let's stretch our hips. If you need to go, I know you guys, some of you guys were gonna have to leave early, that's fine. Let's do a hip stretch. Nice to see you. All right, so let's do an ankle to knee with the other leg straight. So thinking of the tissue again as this really 3-dimensional, like icosahedral structures that are all stacking together. And then in that, you're gonna let yourself kind of wriggle, get that core body freeing up and starting to move towards your forward fold there. So the whole inner body is getting this nice, juicy movement, moving towards the forward fold. If you have access to your forward fold and you want to get down there and keep moving, that's fine. Wherever you are is fine. So really listening in, tuning in, and thinking of this system as this like alive system. The matrix, alive, online. Not the bad matrix, the good matrix. Me and Anthony saw the new Matrix last night, which I actually liked. I thought it was really interesting. It was very meta. And then come up, sole of your feet, minus all the violence. Like, that's what I gotta say. Like, okay, I know, but really, it could have none of that and I would be so fine with it. Bring it in, spiral. And if we took out all the violence, that movie would have been like half an hour shorter, which would have been another win. And come in, take the sole of your foot, place it in towards your groin. Let your butt flesh move from side to side, and then we're going to take it forward again. And again, you're easing into your body like an animal, easing into the animal body. And then bring it up. And we're going to do our well, there's a couple more we'll add to this. Open the arms out, take it sideways, and you're going to go up and over the leg. And then the same thing there, you can kind of push into the floor to spiral open, or you can take it further down, really working with what feels good, playing in the position. So the position has some play. Maybe you're here and it's just a little bit of movement. It doesn't have to be like massive. And certainly do not look at me for like normal person mobility. I'm hypermobile. I've been moving my whole life. And then come with your hand behind you, and we're going to have our solid, I'll show you from the side. So my hand is here. I'm going to press up into my knee, and maybe Terry, don't do this if your knee hurts. Arching, opening my heart, chest, and lungs, and maybe just let out a yummy, big, expansive movement. Tarzan yourself. Make some noise. Oh, and then come back down and around and shake it out. And let's actually, let's do some Tarzaning. It just feels good. Let's cross the ankle over the other knee, take it down. Taking it down as long as it needs to get there, or to get wherever you're going. And considering, like, if you were putting on some tight jeans, you wouldn't just be able to go straight in. You kind of have to wriggle. So it's the same thing. Inside, you're allowing this wriggle, breathing into it. And then coming up and taking your foot in towards your groin. You can lift up, get long, and then forward fold there. Again, let your butt flesh move out of the way. I think I spiraled before. We'll spiral in a second. Wiggle, wiggle. Yeah, so if I really spiral my body, not spiral, yeah, I'm spiraling from one side to the other. I'm getting a relief in this part, which is the place that tends to get tight on me. And especially when I'm walking a lot, like this gets tight, my back and my hips, my glute medius and minimus. All right, let's do that twist, and then we'll take the leg back. So crossing the foot over, twisting, draw it in towards you, spiral. Breathe into it. Don't force it. Go into the yumminess of it. Delicious. If you want to counter stretch, I can't even remember if we did it on the other side of the counter stretch, but we're going to come back down to the sideways stretch. So opening it out, up and over your leg, again, spiraling, not spiraling, releasing, inner body, moving around in ways that feel good. No force, no pushing and discomfort, just stretching into life. And then coming up, hand behind you on the floor, solid gold dancer disco moment, arching back. So when I come into this, and I think I actually saw Medea doing something like this early in role play, but like really letting yourself open, chest, heart, lungs, breathing into it. I'm spiraling back. How does it feel to be open? And bring it in and come back and let yourself Tarzan that out. Yeah. They were really onto something with that idea of Tarzan banging his chest. Oh, that's what monkeys do, right? Or gorillas or apes. So Tarzan did it too. Perfect. All right. Let's come back up to standing just to finish this off. So we're going to come back to standing and where we started the class, on our legs, underwear fixing, whatever you got to do, costume adjustments. Inhale, open, reach out and feel up and let yourself, move into your tissue again. A little bit of movement there. Let the arms release, shake it out. Coming back to this shake, shake, shake. And again, inhale, stretching up. So there's the Qigong exercise, connecting heaven and earth. You can rub your hands together, feel that connection. All these different ways of doing it. But I feel like when I'm here, I can also feel like I'm connecting heaven to earth. I can feel my feet on the ground. I can feel myself reaching up. But I can sink down, right? We need both. We need this access to upness and downness, out and in, forward, backward, all that stuff. Give it a shake and come in. And I'm going to stop recording. So anybody who is in TD land, share the weirdness with all your friends. If you like it, they might too. All the movement geeks out there might like it.